Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Ord. Thank you guys for joining us on this Wednesday evening. Hope you had a great July 4th. I know we did, maybe a little too good of a July 4th. We're sitting here. But we are talking the NL wild card race. So I have a feeling there's not going to be a lot of scoreboard watching down the stretch for the Braves this season, unless you're interested in which other teams will make the playoffs. Currently, we have the Dodgers, we have the Marlins, we have the Phillies in there. San Fran and Milwaukee are tied. That should be a good race. And then you have a couple teams, some underachieving teams, the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres, two of the top three payrolls in baseball, both been utterly disappointing, abysmal to this point in the season. If I had to give you, if I gave you $100 to bet on one of those teams to end up making one of those wild card purse, who do you think it would be?
Definitely the Padres. I don't know. They both are they feel like they're both dysfunctional clubhouses right now. Like the Padres have actual beef going on in the clubhouse, and the Mets feel like they just don't care, or they're just they hate showing up to work, which is never good in this sport. I'll probably go with the Padres based purely off star power. I mean, that lineup is stupid. I don't know how they're underachieving so poorly. The Mets, got a couple old starters, and their lineup leaves a lot to be desired. So I'll go Padres.
I like the Padres, but I brought this up when everyone was hyping them up in the preseason that yes, their top four in their lineup is basically an all-star team. Coming into the season, Manny Machado has been terrible. Juan Soto has been good, but not elite like he usually is. Xander Bogaerts been pretty good. Fernando Tatis has been great. But after that, they leave a lot to be desired throughout that lineup. The back half of that lineup, it's not like the Braves. You talk about the Braves, there's no holes. That whole back half of the lineup is littered with holes. Their pitching leaves a lot to be desired. Their bullpen's pretty good. Hader's been amazing. He looks like the best closer in baseball again. But there's a lot of holes on this team as far as the pitching staff in the back half of that lineup. I'm not surprised they're struggling as much as they are because I don't think their team is actually nearly as complete as the Mets was on paper coming into the season. Now, Jose Quintana getting injured. Edwin Diaz getting injured. Now, Quintana should come back in the second half. I think that'll have a positive effect. I do think Scherzer and Verlander will be better. I don't think it was the wisest investment of dollars by them to invest in two 40-year-old pitchers, but I do think they're still very good pitchers, and they will be better than they have been in the first half. Like you said, the lineup does leave a lot to be desired. Not a lot of power there. I do think guys like Lindor, Alonso being healthy, they should pick it up a little bit. McNeil has to be better in the second half. I have faith in the Mets, and I know I crap on them on Twitter, and their fans hate me, but it's all in good fun. As far as just a pure baseball analyst, I have faith in the Mets turning it around. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think they're just like every baseball team. You see the Braves right now, good baseball teams, they go on runs. The Mets haven't had theirs yet. I do think they're eventually going to win 11 out of 13, 12 out of 14. And get back in this mix like you see the Phillies did over the last month. I think the Mets get that at some point. I think the Mets will be in the conversation. But I do think there's a lot of competition there. The Dodgers aren't going anywhere. The Giants have overachieved, but I think they're a solid squad. They have good vibes. They got the Jock Peterson, the Luke Jacksons. Like you talk about vibes, they got that going. The Marlins are a young up-and-coming team. Maybe the Diamondbacks, if they lose the division, they'll be in the mix. Like there's a lot of good teams there. The Phillies, I think, are the biggest threat to the Braves in the National League. I think they'll be in the playoffs. So if you got to kick someone out. You got to kick someone out. If I was going to kick anyone out, it'd probably be the Marlins. But they're so far ahead that it's like it's hard. It's going to be hard to catch them.
It's going to be a tight race. There's a lot of teams. I mean, you didn't even say the Pirates are still in it. The Cubs are 6 games back. It's going to be a tight race, and it looks like the NL East is going to send 3 teams to the playoffs again.
The Marlins. The Marlins are the Mets. Yeah, the Marlins are the Mets. Look who's in here. But yeah, dude, I do think the Marlins. I don't know. I think the Mets will make it over the Marlins. I think by the end of the season we'll be talking about this, and I think the Mets will make it over the Marlins. Now, will that be enough to get over a team like the Giants or the Brewers or someone like that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Marlins are only 3.5 games up in the wild card, so they're not like far and away out of reach. They could lose. They could go on a little dry run and fall out of it quickly. I mean, I think the Phillies. Yeah, you said it, the Phillies are by far the most talented team in that patch of everybody. But
And we talked
It's going to be a tight race. And it kind of sucks because now everybody thinks they have a shot. And in baseball, you kind of do. If you just get in and you're playing your best baseball in October, you really do have a shot. The best team, doesn't always win. We saw with the Braves.
It rarely wins.
So
the Braves
it
won in
sucks
2021. The Phillies went to the World Series in 2022. I mean, we talk about this trade deadline.
Yeah, everybody thinks they're in it. Yeah,
and team not. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of sellers at this year's trade deadline, and I don't wish it. Anthony Tacoma, his bold prediction from MLB.com was that the Mets would make the World Series in 2023 for the first time since 2015. The Marlins beat writer was actually that the Marlins would finish 500, and now look what they're 13 games over 500.
That is such a conservative. That is such a conservative, bold prediction.
He wasn't bold enough. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about July 4th festivities, Nathan's hot dog eating contest.